Congressmember Nita Lowey, in particular, as chair of the Appropriations Committee, played a vital role in continuing to fund agencies that are terrorizing our people. Can you commit to supporting a dramatic defunding of ICE and CBP, and what kinds of actions can you take to rally Democratic leadership and government around this vital demand?
Yeah, I'm in support of that. Vanessa, you may recall that one of the reasons why I stepped out on faith and primaried the chair of the House Appropriations Committee is because she passed a budget that increased the budget of ICE by 7% beyond the levels that had been approved by Republicans when they controlled the House of Representatives the year before. I think that Democrats in Congress have to be leveraging their majority far more aggressively. We see Republicans do that all the time. And so why can't we do it in service of the best interests of the American people? In terms of how to rally people behind this, I think that it requires movement building.
Think about Rutgers as well. That the only reason we're even talking about a Green New Deal is because Democratic voters in New York's 14th congressional district elevated a 28-year-old bartender to the halls of Congress who has really used her voice to elevate this issue. And so,
do you support the Green New Deal?
Yes.
And I'm sorry if I'm in the way for some folks. Would you support a nationwide ban on all new fossil fuel infrastructure?
There is vigorous advocacy that I am pressing forward with, and I know Mr. Bowman is as well, with respect to removing some of these ridiculous provisions that really criminalize being an undocumented person.
And some of you may not know this, but one of the reasons I got into this race in the summer of 2019 was because I was upset with Democrats for giving more money to ICE than Republicans gave the year before when they controlled the House of Representatives.
Y algo que me motivó más a participar fue cuando en el verano del 2019 me di cuenta que los demócratas dieron más dinero para que se cometa estos abusos.
So I hope that shows you that I am willing to stand up to anybody, even members within my own party, on behalf of the immigrant population.
Entonces esto lo digo para que se den cuenta de que yo pelearé duro incluso contra miembros de mi propio partido a favor de la comunidad inmigrante.
As a member of Congress, I will fight to reunite families that have been separated.
Como miembro del Congreso, pelearé duro para que se dé una reunificación de familias que han sido separadas.
Gracias. As your representative in Congress, I will fight for legislation called the Dream and Promise Act, which would extend a pathway to citizenship for recipients under DACA and under TPS, which we also need to expand.
Como miembro del Congreso pelearé por la legislatura que dice acerca de los Dreamers y los protegidos por TPS para que tengan una opción de la ciudadanía.
We need to make sure that our Dreamers and that people seeking asylum are permanently protected regardless of who is the President of the United States.
Todos aquellos protegidos por DACA y los que busquen asilo deberían obtener protección en este país independientemente del gobierno o del presidente que sea.
I will also fight to end America's zero tolerance policy, which requires the criminal prosecution of border crossings regardless of the fact that many of those people are seeking asylum. I will add more resources to immigration courts to make sure that that cases are not flooding our courts and that we have given legal counsel to every immigrant in this country.
Igualmente,
To me, and I think to all of you here today, the choice is clear. And the Green New Deal provides us with the comprehensive platform necessary to make the choice of action. When I'm elected to Congress, the Green New Deal will be my top priority.
So I support a Green New Deal, which calls for a complete ban on so many of this project. In fact, on all fossil fuel infrastructure. I mentioned earlier a ban on fracking and offshore drilling and exporting crude oil. But we have to, and I'm also reminded of that. And when certain people who used to be running for president, like Elizabeth Warren, talk about providing universal childcare, I'm not only grateful for her endorsement in this campaign, but also I know that what she's calling for is urgently needed in our society. When my grandfather died of cancer, my grandmother worked well past the age of retirement just to pay for the high cost of prescription drugs and medical procedures that are not fully covered by Medicare as we know it. I think that healthcare should be a human right in the richest nation in the history of the world. And I'm proud to be the candidate in this race calling for Medicare for all, which is what Nita Lowey has called for previously, and to be endorsed by Pramila Jayapal, who is the lead sponsor of the Medicare for all legislation. As we look at the extent that the Constitution would make that difficult, we can at least incentivize and disincentivize through financials the adoption of these standards by local law enforcement agencies. So for example, in a